melting point, the very first for the week. I am pleased to know that you are there to listening to the show and anticipate your contributions as well. I am Anifio Kerwa. You're welcome.
Yes, good morning, the old sailor.
Yeah, well, I noticed we're in some purple and black combinations. Are we too festival?
Yeah, we're doing the purple revolution.
Yeah, it's really memories colors I can see in you and I, what I'm wearing as well.
Yeah.
Any conspiracy?
No. Yeah, well, if it's a positive one, we can leave it for a conspiracy.
Yeah, I know the chairman would be delighted to see us in these colors.
Absolutely. Well, as Nigeria begins early preparations for the 2027 general elections, a major directive from, of course, the president is already stirring political conversations across the country. All political appointees with ambitions to contest have been asked to resign by the end of March 2026, and in line with electoral laws and the timetable released by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But beyond compliance, many are asking, is this about fairness, or is it the official kickoff of political maneuvering ahead of 2027? Well, we're going to find out what this means for governance, accountability, and public trust, as we're joined by our regular analyst on the program this morning, Dr. Wanabasudol makes a return. He is a public affairs analyst and a senior lecturer in the Department of Public Administration at the Faculty of Management Sciences at Akwa Ibom State University. Good morning, Dr. Do. Good to have you back.
Good morning, Yakno.
Yes.
Good morning. Thank you very much for accepting me back.
Timely return. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Next to him is, of course, another celebrated public affairs analyst and social commentator, Otorko Donald. Enquiry, good morning, Otorko. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Yakno. Happy New Week.
Happy New Week, Otorko. Thank you for joining us. Well, we just have to, manage your voice for now because we have a bit of a hitch, but we'll get to sort that out hopefully. Well, remember, you can be part of the discussion via the phone lines on 0803 085 7755, 0829 066 6909. The second number serves as our WhatsApp number, so if you drop a comment there, we'll get to read it here this morning. We start like this, Doc.
Yes.
The directive from the president forces appointees to resign over a year before the 2027 elections. Ministers, top officials who resign will leave key roles vacant. Do you think this could distract the government from, of course, the governing process? And how might these expected resignations affect the performance of ministries and agencies in the short term?
All right. Thank you very much. As soon as we had entered the political season, which is in Nigeria, which is usually almost the second year after the inauguration of a particular government into power. Politics has politics has begun. Governance seems to always be the first 1 year or 1 year 6 months in
Looks
Nigeria.
like we're gradually getting used to that.
So somehow, whether somebody resigns or not, and so especially at this season, it does not really make so much impact on the performance of ministries. What have most of the ministries done, in the past 2.5 years after this administration has been sworn in? That leaves leave that question to the public to answer. So whether a minister resigns or he does not resign, it does not really make much difference, because if the president does not want you to do something, there's nothing you can do. If he wants you to do something and you resign, he can still make use of the permanent secretary or the directors of ministries. Yeah, of course, because ministry is statutorily structured. it's the minister is only a political head of the ministry. You have the permanent secretary, who is the administrator of the ministry. You have the directors and the heads of departments and so on and so forth, who are the core technocrats who carry out the daily activities of the ministry. So if the president wants a particular ministry to function, it is either there's going to be an immediate replacement of a new minister or a special advisor or whatever the position is, or you can make use of this structure which is already on ground.
All right. Well, talking about structures and all of that. Well, Otoekon, let me come to you. The presidency says this is about obeying the electoral law. And do you see this directive as purely legal compliance, or is there also political strategy behind it?
Well, I don't really see much of a political strategy. I think it's simply a purely administrative thing. It's not the first time we have seen demands made on political office holders or even anybody. Even if you're a lecturer and then you want to, like my friend here, he wants to contest election, there is a time frame given for him to step aside. The only thing is that now the time is restructured in a way that it is a longer period. You're given a time for you to go for your primaries and all that and that. Just the mere intent sends you out of office, and you cannot hold that office while you're even starting the process. In fact, now the moment you start telling your friend it is time I want to go for election, they say that day you must resign. So which is becoming a very big issue for our this thing, but that is just it. I don't see much politics in that. It's just, I think it should be, that is a INEC regulations now, that these things must happen. Like they say, about a year to election, certain things must start happening. That the regulations must come out a year. The timetable must come out a year before election. So this is just one of those things that are part and parcel of the regulations or the process.
All right, doctors. Some people say this could be, a loyalty test to see if you are really, loyal to the president or not. But some people are, planning to sit tight to show their loyalty. Is there any loyalty?
When you talk about loyalty, it means it can only be tested if you are resigning to contest for the position of your boss. Do you understand what I mean? But if that's where your loyalty, say, hey, so this guy was not loyal to me. But if you are resigning to go and contest for a governorship of your state or senate, that has no direct bearing to your boss. That's where the president will not have issue with you. But if you are, as soon as you're a minister, maybe you've made a lot of money and so on, even your body language begins to tell Mr. President, say, this man, you have to put it on check.
What if in the case where the president has a favored candidate for the position his appointee wants to contest for?
When the president has a
favorite candidate,
that will be after second term, not as we are going to take. Do you understand what I mean? It cannot be now. The president will want to make his second term. Anybody who wants that position now either will be shown a way out, and INEC can be pinned down to put the president on a watch list, so that they will not come and fight Mr. President and give him a lot of distractions and problems all over and so on. So he's already having a lot of issues with Mr. Peter Obi, who is moving with Kwangwazo. The other day was invited to Kano, and you could see the crowd of people that came to receive this Peter Obi of a man and so on. And he's already intimidated by how ADC is galvanizing the entire country and so on. So he wouldn't like to have a similar something that looks like distraction from one of those he tried to bring up to power, as minister. So he wouldn't even also think of picking a preferred candidate. Now it is after a second term, going close to the close of second term, that I begin to think of a successor.
Well, the goal, according to reports, is to ensure fairness by removing incumbency advantage. Now, in reality, do you think stepping down truly will level the playing field, or do former appointees still retain unfair advantages?
Certainly, to some certain level, one could see that it can level the playing field to some certain extent, because a power of incumbency, no matter what you say, we hear even in Akwa Ibom here, where some members of the House, we are hearing rumors that some powerful bigwigs do not want them to win third term because of the fact that by 2031 they'll be eligible to go for governorship, and it's a problem. So the power, when somebody is in office in Nigeria, as you know, and he's going to for an election, he has a lot of money out of that office. He has a lot of power he can wield. May not even be directly, but indirectly, if he's sitting in an office like Adelabu, who is a minister of power, he can use his position. He has been angling for the governorship of Oyo State. He contested last time in 2023, and it was as a favor that Mr. President made him. And I understand he has been more in Oyo State than in Abuja these days because of, he has to put structures on ground, and maybe that is why we don't have power. I don't know. So with that position in office, he can wield a lot of influence on whether deciding how he's going to win the primaries or something like that. So he wills. It is a very, very good thing to be done, looking at the Nigerian political environment, ecosystem, where when you are seated in office, you have access to two very powerful things, money and power, and you can wield the two to do anything. So truly, it's going to create a level playing field to some certain extent anyway, in trying to help one way or the other to make sure that others have an opportunity. But I think that should be more in the area of primaries in the party. Are you getting me? It may not be much in the open election, you see. So that's it.
Okay, if you're just joining us, this is the Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM, and we're looking at the presidential directive that his appointees, the political appointees, should step down if you're interested in 2027. But there are some that are still hanging on. Perhaps they want to prove their loyalty or otherwise. Doctor, let me come to you. Are you seeing this presidential directive as being hasty, in view of tight deadlines and forcing swift decisions?
No, it's not hasty. If you look at the electoral process, you see, in fact, even the timetable, you see that things have been put in place from time to time, periodically. All these things have been spelled out, that within this period, this is what is going to take place within this period and this period. And of course, those who are expected to resign have already known that at a certain time it will be demanded on them to resign, and it can't come to them as a shock or a shocker or a surprise, because they already know, and it's already in the electoral timetable, that at a certain time, initially before the 2022 electoral law, people used to be asked to resign after primaries. I remember that something like that used to happen after party primaries. So if you are a public officer, you will be sure whether if you resign, whether you have so you go for the primaries and then come back. If you didn't win, you come and remain in your job, in your position. That used to be somehow fairness to the citizens, to the workers, the public officers. But a time come when there was review of these electoral laws and so on, that you have to resign before primaries. And that's very risky for a public officer. I know maybe we'll talk about how the governor, but you know, governor has already.
Yes, we'll definitely get to that. The Akwa State governor.
Okay, he's almost saying something that is very threatening and frightening, you know, to the public officers who are already warming up, who were very zealous. Let me use that word. Who were very zealous to say, I'm going to resign and contest for so and so position. But as soon as that statement was made, I see some people have started developing cold feet and no longer that zealous to be telling people that this is what they want. And so these are what are expected by electoral law, and everybody knows that. Well, so it's not hasty in any way.
But Nigeria has a history of uneven enforcement of political directives and rules like this. I mean, it won't be the first time it's been stated. How confident are you that all affected appointees will comply? And what happens if some do not?
Well, I think on this one, it's not it's not a presidential directive. I think it is in our laws. It is in our electoral laws now, the new electoral act, and that this is the step you need to take. Now, all of them will comply. Let me give you my reason why. Because the opposition is looking at you. You know, in politics, it is where they will go and look for somebody's great-great-grandmother and say it's from a half year, it's not from a Akwa State. So people are, all of them who are fighting each other, they are angling, they are looking for information to see where they can. If they cannot win you directly, they can use technicalities in court, you know, to bring you down. So if you don't comply to this directive, somebody is waiting for you. You can win on the ground, and then the matter will go to court. They said, okay, this man didn't meet up the directive from INEC. That means he was not eligible, because that makes you ineligible to contest the election, and then certainly you're out. You know, one of the things the governor was saying, I can't stay in this party. Look at it. I'm not like Wike. I cannot fight. You know that I'm not.
I have no strength.
I'm no strength. Like Wike. Yes. That who will sign your certificate? They would simply use technicalities to kick you out. Remember what happened to the guy that won election in Zamfara? It was technicalities. All of them were kicked out, and then the man who came second, and all the members of the House of Assembly, swept all the polls. So those are the things that will make them not to take a step away. They will be very, very careful. You know that when it comes to something like this, they don't play games. So they are awake even now when they are supposed to sleep, to make sure that they work everything out, to make sure we don't make mistake. That's the thing.
All right, listener, I think we want to keep you up to speed with the electoral, some electoral, or the electoral processes. Party primaries are meant to be conducted between 23rd of April this year and May 30th this year as well. While candidates' names are to be submitted to INEC by July 11 for the president and a presidential candidate, as well as the National Assembly members or candidate, while August 8 is for governors and House of Assembly names to be submitted to INEC. Now, Doctor, let me come to you. Are you seeing this presidential directive as being selective, or is it likely to undermine its credibility if it is selective? Yeah, because we're talking about political appointees now, and how about government officials that may also want to go into elections?
Government officials like
hiding. There are some public officers that may want to go in, but are hiding, while government is focusing on our political appointees only.
Okay.
Is it selective?
Well, the clause is this: if you are working, whether it is by appointment or by employment or by select or whatever position, you are taking salary from government, you cannot be taking that salary and using all the government apparatuses like the office you are occupying, the cars you are driving. Because if they allow them and say go for primaries and go for election without resigning, they'll be using government vehicles, and be driving and doing campaigns, using government apparatus, using the resources, still having access to the resources and so on. Using, that's why it is incumbent on them that they have to resign first. And whether you are hiding, whether you are a public officer or you are hiding somewhere, watching the terrain and the body language of the president or whatever, when it is time to go for that those primaries, you must resign. But my fear is this. These resignation letters are not usually published for the public to see whether they have the people have actually complied. So the chances of some Nigerians playing a fast one is there.
That's it.
You know, you can just, if you are close to the party chairman, you can meet him and then have an agreement with him, an understanding, and write that thing up very well and put it in an envelope and give it to him to keep somewhere in a drawer somewhere, so that if it happens, bam, they can bring it out. If it doesn't happen, you just leave it there. So that is my fear, because if we're talking about transparency, if Nigeria were to be very serious about this matter and the matter of transparency, every person who wants to stand election, who has resigned, the resignation letter is supposed to be published for the public to see and say, okay, definitely he has resigned. So that tomorrow if somebody is accused you that he didn't resign, you show it evidence and so on and so forth. So that's my fear, because then I tell you, that big man, that party chairman, I have not mentioned any party, just talk about party, any party chairman who can try to be mean, will not get that envelope, just the envelope. We'll get a lot of other big envelopes, you know, to support that resignation envelope, and that's not good for democracy.
All right, that's why I actually wanted to come into enforcement.
Yes.
How is it this resignation is going to be enforced and monitored? Yeah, because I trust Nigerians, they can also take the back door into.
Of course, they can. That's what I'm saying. You know, there can be exchange of money, can exchange hands and so on, and then before you know it, the favored candidate, you know, you see, somebody who knows who is a favored candidate, at some point he will know that he is the one that is going to get this. So you see, the way he will be walking, in the way he will be doing things. Sometimes he does not even answer people's greeting. I remember in these states, in this Akwa Ibom state, when somebody was a preferred candidate to a former governor, I don't want to mention him, the man became very cocky, that even somebody will greet him on the road genuinely, and he's just walking past, and the PA will say, sir, that man is greeting you, and he turns to the PA, he said, so the man shouldn't have greeted me. Do you know why he's greeting me? He's greeting me because of the favor he knows that he wants to. And he's walking, instead of answering that man. The energy is dissipating to explain this thing to the PA. He should have used a lesser energy to answer the man and walk away. So he was showing, at the end of it, he wasn't the governor. And somebody just came from the back door and took the governorship, you know, in this state. So people think that the endorsement by the incumbent is final, not knowing that there is a God factor, you know, somewhere. There is also the people's factor, especially because this is democracy. The people now in Nigeria are so aggrieved because of pains and excruciating hardship and so on, and so they are like waiting. If power should enter their hands, let them demonstrate. And so if somebody like that, you want to go and be the leader of the people, you want the people to vote you in, and yet you are not being accessible, you are not available to the people, and and then how will you expect the people to now vote you, even though in Nigeria all those things sometimes do not matter, because once you are endorsed by the chief executive, that seems to be it.
Oh. Well, it's approaching 10:30 on the clock on Monday morning. This is the melting point on Memories 96.5 FM, and we are talking about the directive by President Bola Tinubu to his appointees to resign by the end of this month if they are nursing any political ambitions ahead of the 2027 general elections. Just before we open the phone lines, let's head back to our analyst Enquiry. Well, the directive is framed as strengthening democracy and transparency. Do you think moves like this actually build public trust in the electoral process, or are Nigerians likely to remain skeptical?
I don't think this has anything to do with the process. This is simply an administrative issue which Nigerians should not kill themselves over. It has nothing, it's not going to make the election more transparent. And if you tell me, I will tell you that Nigerians are not bothered about this. There are more things about the election Nigerians were bothered about that the National Assembly did not give Nigeria, which was electronic voting or real-time transfer of votes, which would have created that kind of confidence. But this is just purely administrative and intra-party stuff, which can only give advantages for those who have not made mistake and disadvantage for those who may have made mistake, or whatever thing they did on the ground, it is discovered and somebody uses it against them in the election. It does not make the election better. There are more laws. I understand they came again to amend something in the law that gives that talked about if somebody is using a fake certificate or something like that. These are the things which are not supposed to be done. So these are just little things that are actually will not truly help us. Doesn't impact in any positive way the processes of election. Because if somebody stays in office or doesn't stay in office, if, like Doctor said here, you're favored by the chief executive, you're certainly going to get that job. That is the way it is. So whether you stay in office or you don't stay in office, and it doesn't matter. And the current governor of Akwa Ibom said was favored by the person he succeeded. So even after he resigned, he was still the favored candidate. So even if somebody waited until one day to the election, he now resigned and he contested against the current governor, he would have failed. So it doesn't really add anything to our process. And there are better things that I do believe that the National Assembly or what do you call INEC we should do, that should help us to have an election process, cycle of election that will create confidence in the hearts of Nigerians and make them come to participate. Remember what happened at the Abuja election? You go, even the minister of FCT went to a place and there were how many people? They were not up to 10. I said, in a place like this with more than 1,000 registered voters and only 10 people came out. He was shocked, you know. So that is it. So those things are not helping Nigerians. I think the National Assembly, INEC, should push. And what I would love to see happen is that the INEC regulations for election should be as good as the electoral law. It's not something that when it goes to court, one judge will sit down and say it is not in the law. But you gave him the power to make the regulations and you don't recognize the regulation. These are more positive things that will help us in the next election cycle. And I pray that our lawmakers will take it very seriously.
All right, Tilako, I'll still come back to you. And are you seeing some influences of are you seeing some candidates, being scared of governors, determined candidates, and decide to hang on? Are you seeing these hang-ons in some places for fear of, contesting against a government's nominee or aspirants?
We live in we run a political culture where the winner takes all. The one that holds everything, he holds the knife and he holds the yam, is the governor. So if the election comes now, I can tell you that if I am going to contest an election and I look at it, the governor is favoring you, Oselo, I will have to think twice before And even anybody that hears you are the favored candidate, even if they were my best friend, they will abandon me. So that is the thing. The governor is a very powerful person. So that is it. So if most people who listen to what the governor said, because the governor said, see, I'm going to abide by the agreement. So you should know where we are going. And everybody, those who know what the agreement is, they have started using their tongues to count their teeth. They know how many inside their mind. So you must be afraid when your governor says, look, I'm going to abide to, and all of them know the agreement too. So that is it. So you can't overturn the agreement when you were there, when the agreement was made.
All right, before I get to talk about what the governor said, I mean, appointees, according to this directive, must now choose between their jobs and their political ambition. Doc, what kind of pressure does this put on political appointees, and could it discourage some of them from contesting?
Yeah, of course. Just like my colleague has said to Tweko, people are now sitting back to begin to re-strategize and re-plan their ambitions. But there are some people that actually came into office, those offices they are occupying, with that ambition. The ambition had already existed in their mind, because there are two categories of people. People who had the ambition to run for certain offices before they were even privileged to be appointed either ministers or commissioners or whatever. There are such people, and those people are the kind of people that can give up anything to make sure that they pursue their dream and so on. So those sets will not be so scared. They won't be so scared because of course they already know that they have to resign their appointment, so they will go ahead and resign. But these people who are privileged, people who have maybe their minds have not been so much in governance and leadership and so on, and then they find themselves being appointed into the cabinet, as minister as personal assistant or special assistant or whatever, and then the people now pressure on them by reason of this position they are holding and say, you have to go for this. You know that not everybody always muster courage to say, I'm contesting for this. It is the people sometimes, or your friends, that ginger say, you know, this position you are holding, you can use this as a springboard and move on to, and it will occur to the person and so on. So this set of people will be afraid somehow, and they will have to wait because that the pressure will be directly so much on them. So they will have to begin to count their this thing before they take that final decision of resignation. But they must resign if they have to go.
All right, if they have to go. All right, listener, we're still on the melting point. Looking at that presidential directive that if you're interested in 2027, you've got to step aside and contest. Now, we're expecting or anticipating a wave of fresh faces and technocrats to assist in steadying the government ship. Now, with these new faces, emerging, are you foreseeing any disruptions or dislocation in governance or government administration, Otweko?
I don't see the ones who were here exactly what achievement can you really point out that they have done. But the thing we need to understand is that governance has been, how would I say, even look at it across Akwa Ibom, all you hear is endorsement, every other thing seems to be down. And there's another thing we need to understand that is going to come up that will make the political sphere very, very hot. And I saw somebody wrote something, the people's choice and versus agreement. This agreement, was it the people's choice? Are you getting the point I'm trying to say? So this is some of those things that will create heat, that even if you bring in new people, not much may happen. But one thing I want us to know is that politics has started and governance has gone down. That is the thing. And what is going to add to this going down of governance is the fact that the people, the governor, the agreement had put in place. What about the choice of the people? What does the people want? If what the people want is going to clash with the agreement, there's going to be problem, and that would further heap pressure on governance. So this is where we are going. So even the new people are coming up, they may know one or two things to do, but there may not be time for them to do those things because possibly resources or attention are not given to those things. And you look at now, in any normal country, at this time that there's no power across the nation, you understand me? This is the time that you will hear those in government talking about how to provide power, or oil, the price of oil has gone up. Nations across the globe have released, they had their reserve, they have released reserve into the market to make sure that they ease the rise in price. But you see, nothing like that is happening in Nigeria. On the day you had people killed, none of them talks about it. What you hear is this one traveling to here, endorsing this one, saying this one is a political leader, and these are the things. So the people have been brought in to say, okay, let us help His Excellency, because he can't work alone, whether the president or the governor, you know, he can't work alone. They may not be, attention may not be focused on the area in which they have been given the portfolio to see one thing, how to do one thing or the other. So that's the challenges we are going to see going forward.
Well, Otuaka, you've mentioned the people's choice against agreement. Let's just try to take a listen to what the governor said recently regarding the 2027 elections and appointees resigning their positions to contest in the elections. Let's see if we can get to hear that before we proceed.
Please, finally, as we begin to plan going to government, so you know what you are doing. You know what you are doing. Don't come and tell me about the form, you didn't settle. You know my idea of the form. Settle the form. I think we must be able to understand, you should understand the temperature. You should understand what you are doing. Please. So who say so? You are your own.
It's not particularly against you contesting. It's against you asking for compensation later. That's one.
Only reform the Association of Aggrieved. Don't grieve, please test yourself. Because we know the agreements we had, and me I will keep to those agreements. That's what I'm telling you now. I don't know how to lie to people. We know what we have. Keep to those agreements. So you don't change what
Was the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umar, and I was speaking there, and from what he has said, going by what he has said, he is not particularly against appointees, government officials resigning their positions to contest in the next elections. He is having some reservations about people contesting, losing out in the elections or the primaries or whatever, and then asking to be compensated later on, which seemed to be the norm in this part of the world.
Yeah.
And then he has talked about maintaining an agreement which the citizens are not privy to. And it just begs the question, agreement? Is it about bettering the lives of the citizens, or is it about maintaining the status quo, having the same set of leaders who have always had, the ones who have known, some of them have been in government for over